Hello, and thank you for joining Citrin Cooperman's COVID-19 Transition Playbook video series. During this series, we'll be interviewing different franchisors on their experiences in dealing with the current pandemic. My name is Iannuzzi. I am the co-chair of Citrin Cooperman's franchise accounting and consulting practice. Today, I am happy to be video conferencing in Nigel Lee, CEO of XD Coffee LLC. Nigel, welcome, and thank you so much for participating.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate you having me on today.
Got it. Good to see you in person. So Nigel, before we get into the serious stuff, why don't you give us a little history about yourself, the company, what you've been up to, and some plans that you've had prior to, the world turning into what it is today.
Yeah. So Espresso Delight is a company, and as you could probably tell by my accent, that started back in Australia all the way back in 2003. It started out with Paul Crabtree and Stephen Spitz, the two founders, really just wanting to change the way people experience coffee in the office. And since that point, we've sold over 200 franchises internationally. We're in Australia, New Zealand, here now in the United States. I joined Espresso Delight back in 2010, I believe it was, so a decade ago, as an area developer. I ran and controlled one of the states there. And in a short period of about 2 years, we doubled the size of that territory, both franchise numbers and coffee machines placed into offices. And then the opportunity for the US came about, and I jumped at that pretty quickly. Within a week, I had my business and house for sale. And then I obviously came across here, decided to move to New York City as the first point of call. I've never been to the States or even traveled here for a short period of time. I just kind of came here on a whim, thinking that this could definitely work here. And the rest is kind of history. It's been, as you know, Mike, an up and down hard slog like any new business venture is. But we're finally at a point here in the US where we've really understood what our business model is here in the United States, the unit economics and how to scale it quickly. And it was kind of unfortunate that 2020 got off to the best start that we've ever had. We sold a number of units and opened new territories in the remaining quarter of 2019. We had the biggest month ever in machine placements and growth in February, and the first week of March had already looked like it was going to outpace February pretty easily, and then everything got shut down. So it was unfortunate, but I think our mission is still there to be the best office coffee service in the US. It's a little bit different in the United States and the rest of the world. It's a pretty saturated market in Europe, in Australia, where people can get cappuccinos, lattes, and espressos in their office. Where here in the States, it is probably only 5% of offices would even have a fully automated espresso coffee machine. So yeah, we're excited to get back open. We've obviously been hit pretty hard by COVID-19, but yeah, we're looking forward to getting back out there.
All right, and like you mentioned, so these machines for your company, you have your own machines that you've placed, and
yep.
Obviously the franchise side as well. So if you would just want to maybe clarify a little bit how that worked, that you started placing your own machines and then you rolled the franchise concept out.
Yeah, so when we got here to the United States, we started in New York City. We placed these fully automated espresso machines into offices. We then provide our own proprietary blend of coffee, and we also go once a week to do all the cleaning and maintenance on these machines. So we started out in New York City placing these really for proof of concept, really to understand whether this made sense here in the US, and we got very quick feedback. Citrin Cooperman actually was our very first client that we did place one of these machines in, and it's been a client ever since, so we're appreciative of that. But from that point, we really then took the time to understand the market, where it's at, like I said before, the unit economics, and whether this made sense as a franchise model here in the United States, because there was a real possibility that it didn't. And I think one of the interesting things that I think most international brands make a mistake of here in the States when they try to franchise is they start to sell franchises too quickly. And we nearly went down that path as well, and we put a pause button on that for a little while, and we really built a better quality product and service. We really concentrated on our supply chain. So we built a supply chain now where our franchisees really just order everything online. It gets shipped directly to their customers, and they don't have to touch or warehouse or have an office or anything like that. So we've really made it a lean, and I think now post-COVID, a sustainable business model where there isn't any high overheads. So we really concentrated on all of that. We then back in 2018, partnered with Oakscale, a franchise development company. And the reason we did that was from the little testing we did in the franchise lead gen space, and as most people and you know, Michael, it's very expensive and it's highly competitive to do franchise lead gen. We partnered with them so we could concentrate on one, training and support of existing franchisees, but also really put the time into new franchisees when they got and opened the market as well. So we opened in 2019. We're now in New York, New Jersey, Chicago, Buffalo, New York, Charlotte, North Carolina, Washington, D.C., and Fort Lauderdale down in Florida. We have actually Houston, Texas, and Austin, Texas. We're hopefully going to be opening very soon if coronavirus doesn't delay it any further. But we had planned and had the outlook that we'd probably open 10 new markets this year, but that's probably going to be now anywhere from 3 to 5, just depending on when we can open. In most of these cities throughout the US. But yeah, I think it's been exciting up until this point. I'm sure you're going to ask, but we've been trying to innovate and pivot as much as we can through this time, and just excited to kind of show what we've been doing in the past, but just in a new, different world.
So Nigel, thank you so much for that summary of the history and where you are right now. So being a mobile office, coffee business where all the offices are shut down, or people are that may be starting to open up, are very leery of letting outsiders into the building. What happened during March when everything shut down? Were the franchisees able to operate at all? And now, as some of these states that you mentioned are starting to open back up, what are you hearing at the office situation, and what's going to start to take place?
Yeah, very good question. So we were affected quite dramatically, clearly being a B2B office supply company. So 100% of all our clients, both corporate and franchisee, closed. We are in predominantly states that were affected either quite harshly or in areas that reactionary closed down at very similar times. So Charlotte is definitely the first that has started to open back up, like literally just last week. So we did a couple of things. So I think firstly, we wanted to take the safest and health conscious choice that anyone that was open in New York City, for example, we actually, the week that everyone started to gradually close their offices, we actually closed on Monday, mainly for the pure reason that, look, we're going from spot to spot, office to office, and we could be one of these people that spread the virus if we did contract it, right? So we made the conscious choice in that last week to cease servicing our coffee systems from a week-to-week basis. We advised all our clients, most of them were already either closed or about to close at a certain day. Through that time, we've really been looking at what the consumer sentiment is, being employees, managers, business owners, and we've just actually developed and released, and we'll be emailing all our existing customers and letting any new customers know that we've initiated this zero-touch initiative approach, where one, we really want people to understand that if you're coming back to the office, using our espresso machine in your office is one touch. You literally walk up to the machine, you press the button. And to look at other competitors and even walking out to the coffee shop, you are exposing yourself to more touch points, to more variables. If you go outside to a coffee shop, you've got to get in the elevator, you've got to see other people. So that's kind of one aspect to it. The second aspect is we've always had the most proactive service schedule out of any of our competitors, and that's been every single week. So in addition to that, we're actually going to be providing and adding to every customer's coffee system disposable gloves, finger cots. So if they want to put a disposable finger cot on to press a button, they can do that. Disinfectant wipes. We're even going to be asking customers if they want us to increase the frequency of servicing to multiple times a week. We'd be open to do that. The initial feedback that we have got is that as people are slowly open, they've actually really wanted to get back going again and choose the safest option, which, look, we believe that it's us, but they've been telling us that it does seem as though that is the case as well, which has been great. And I think it just kind of shows what we were doing in the past made sense, and it makes even more sense in a post-COVID-19 world. Outside of that, we haven't had any customers, and look, we only have a small set of data so far that have said that they didn't want anyone in the office that was from the outside, but I do expect that there will be some of those type of companies that do that. Second to that, there has been this gradual rollout. So it hasn't been 100% of people coming back. It's been 30 to 50% on different shifts, being either a week or two at a time, and then they roll in a different team in a different segment of their business. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. We definitely feel as though that volume, because we charge per cup, and because our revenue is based on the amount of volume that's consumed, will be affected for a period of time. But I think from our point of view, one big decision we made was that as soon as an office closed, we do have contractually minimums within our agreements that people generally do pay, is we decided not to charge any company minimums across the board. So we left that decision to each individual franchisees. We made a recommendation, 100% got on board with that, and we had a very good response from our customers about that. And I think we'll progress that until people are open. And I think, look, volume is going to be what it is, but I think it's more important to have a customer who's happy and safe and healthy, and we can kind of decide all that other stuff on the back end as well.
And those customers will remember that they know that they're in minimums on the machines and that you didn't charge them, and they'll remember that when
Yeah.
when you get ready to open back up.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
some of the things that you mentioned with the pushing the button or whatever that the finger cover is. I mean, so what is there special training going on right now with the franchisees to get them ready to gear up for this?
Yeah, so we've been having a weekly franchisee call with all our franchisees. It was actually just before this. It's on every Thursday at the moment, and we've been going through a number of these elements each and every week. Really, just opening the conversation to what they're hearing locally, adapting our model and pivoting to wherever we need to make it a better system. But we've basically been telling franchisees that, look, like, to be extra cautious and to go out there and be in front of this is probably the best approach. And we've been recommending that everyone has to wear gloves and face masks when they're going into each client's locations. If they want us to do a temperature check, we'd be more than happy to do that. And we're really just trying to tick as many boxes. We've even added a sanitary log to each and every machine. So when we go on site, we'll have a bit of paper there that says, like, this is when your machine's being cleaned every week. This is who last cleaned the milk line or wiped the machine down with disinfectant wipes. We really just want people to be conscious of and know exactly when and what is happening, so they can feel confident that when they're using the machine, that one, it's clean, but two, that, hey, like, if I want to put a disposable glove or finger cot on to press a button, I can do that. And I'm going to be as safe as I possibly can be as well.
Got it. Very cool. Very cool. So I've been seeing a lot of posts on LinkedIn and some other things that you've been doing while everybody's closed. So why don't you explain, some things on how you've pivoted the company right now to actually get the coffee out in the field? I see some pictures of boxes at the hospitals. So, love to hear what you're doing there, what you're doing for the community, and how the coffee's still making its way out, to the public.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. So the week that all kind of came about, the Coffee for Healthcare Heroes partnership and campaign on GoFundMe, that was basically like week one or week two of this whole thing going down and offices shutting, and everyone was in like a whirlwind, and we were spinning. And someone actually from Oakscale said, "Oh, we should probably do something for hospitals." And in that time period, like, I was trying to deal with, like, what do we do with this business model? Are we going to survive? Will we be here in 3 months? So I kind of just was like, yeah, look, great idea, but let's wait till next week. And then that was like on a Thursday. And then on Sunday, we did a short little campaign on Instagram. It wasn't much. Someone saw it. They reached out and said, hey, like, we're going to be starting this Coffee for Healthcare Heroes on GoFundMe. Would you like to be the first coffee partner? And we jumped at it. We thought it was fantastic. They had a whole number of hospital contacts. We had the coffee. So it was a perfect partnership for us. So we pivoted immediately to concentrate on that. Luckily, we had been testing a cold brew option for offices for a number of years. We've been rolling it out very slowly, really working out, because it's the most important thing for us, our supply chain, and how that was going to work for our franchise network. We had 2 years of experience in it, so we had it set up and ready to go. So we started rolling that out to hospitals. We then, through that thought process, pivoted pretty quickly and built within, I think it was 8 days, an online e-commerce site that anyone that was working from home, we really wanted to stick with our mission of office coffee. Even if the new office was at home and it wasn't particularly in an office building, they could buy cold brew. Companies could purchase that cold brew for their employees, or they could offer that at a discount to their employees. And that went really well. It's taken off in some sense. We're now looking more at partnership model, where we're looking at other companies that are in the B2B space and aren't particularly in coffee, and vice versa, and we can leverage their audience, they can leverage ours, and we can do things that way. But we've tried to be as nimble as we possibly can, mainly for the fact that, one, we want to serve our customers, but two, we want franchisees to be profitable. Luckily, and going back to something I said before, because we are very lean, because we don't have leases, real estate, anything like that, most franchisees are in a really good position. Yes, we haven't charged any customers revenue, but there wasn't huge overheads for them to burden them as well. And I think most of them were fairly new in respect to not having any employees. So it was really easy for us in that transition as well. But it's been great. I mean, we got some really fantastic feedback with the Coffee for Healthcare Heroes campaign. There was a lot of, I think we ended up serving nearly 20 different hospitals. We had cold brew going around, and it was really interesting because when they came up, I had the conversation of, like, surely there's something better we could be doing than coffee. But the conversations that they were having was that all the coffee shops around them were closed. They couldn't get one going in. They didn't honestly have time to brew a pot of coffee when they got into the hospital, because it was just crazy. So it actually did give back, and we're very fortunate to be a part of it, and we're really happy about it as well.
Yeah, no, it was a great idea, and those boxes are pretty big, and they serve a lot per box. So now, is this something that as we get into the summer months, the machines always were what they were when you started. Is this something, as the offices open up during the summer, that franchisees are going to be selling boxes of cold brew to the offices as well? Because having iced coffee in an office is pretty nice also.
Yeah, it certainly will be. So we're going to be officially launching that like now to offices when they first start opening back up. So it'll be in that bag in a box system. We even have a countertop kegerator system that larger volume customers can implement as well as a typical size kegerator. But generally in an office environment, there is limited space. So we're trying to make it as compact and lean for the customer as possible. But yeah, we'll be releasing that and everyone can be a part of it. We've tried to make it as innovative as we possibly can. Instead of just selling boxes of coffee, we've also created corporate membership programs where a company can actually sign up to the membership program for a monthly fee, and then they get discounts of anywhere up to 20%. So they can purchase the cold brew themselves and give it to their employees, or they can buy this membership and then say to their employees, buy as much coffee as you want to Espresso Delight, but you get 20% off or whatever the number is. So we've really tried to make it as accessible as possible because we know for a period of time, not everyone's going to be back in the office. So we want to be able to give a high quality amenity like they would get in an office, but at home for their employees, because everyone's stuck at home. They're still, like New York City, everyone's stuck in an apartment. So adding that little extra touch definitely makes a difference, I think, as well.
Now, if you don't mind, if we can expand on that a little bit, when you set that up, how is that running? Is that running through you centrally, or like are the franchisees in those areas, if they get leads for that coffee and it comes from that zip code, do they share it in the royalty? Like, how is it all set up?
Yeah, good question. So as we're at our core, we're a B2B business. What we've done, and to make it, again, easier for our franchisees to monetize something during this period, from a one-to-one consumer purchase of cold brew, each franchisee has their own unique URL, so they can send anyone from any location to that. They can purchase from that site. We know exactly who it was and who it was for and where it should be allocated to us from a franchisee. When it goes back to a corporate account, so if that customer purchased coffee and said, hey, now I want this for my office, that is then territory dependent. So that would then be passed to whatever franchisees in that territory. But we did understand that, look, we would get some consumer orders, which we did, and we want it to be allocated to that franchisee for introducing them to Espresso Delight. So we've set it up that way. And again, the process for this for franchisees is really simple. They're not storing, shipping, or doing anything in regards to the coffee. It's brewed at the roasting facility. It's there sitting cold. It actually gets boxed up with little ice packs. It arrives cold, so you can virtually drink it straight away. All they need to do is push the customer to the platform, get them to purchase, and then everything else is done on the back end. So we've tried to make it as seamless as possible, which is why we also set up the e-commerce site and everything else, because we wanted the franchisees just to be able to sell the product and not have to worry about supply chain, payment processing, or anything like that. So it's really easy for them. It's been great. We've had some fantastic feedback with the product. And we're excited to push it out even further into the office market as well.
Yep. Thank you for sharing about the mobile ordering and the websites. I think that's very very unique, and how you're able to track it and get all the franchisees on board. So they got to be very happy about that. So you mentioned a little earlier about the low cost of overhead. Did franchisees and you as the franchisor have to tap into any of the SBA programs that were out there for PPP funding, EIDL loans, or is that really a non-issue, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so for franchisees, it was not an issue. Most of them were fairly new in the process. So the majority of franchisees that join Espresso Delight start as owner-operators, even if it is for a short period of time, to understand the concept, implement the processes and systems. And then when they get to a certain period of scale and size, and they then start to employ service technicians and the like. So no franchisees were really at that stage just yet. There were a few that were coming close to it. So we were the only ones that had employees. I don't think anyone got any EIDL loans or anything like that. We kept on our employees for as long as we possibly could. There was a stage where we didn't know whether we were going to get PPP. And I think we kept them on for, it was close to 10 or 11 weeks. We then still hadn't got PPP, so we then furloughed them at that stage, and then about a week later we got the PPP loan, which was fantastic. We are looking to bring everyone back on. It was purely a case of we didn't know at the start how long New York City was going to be closed down. Our hope was that if it was going to be 3 or 4 weeks and it was light at the end of the tunnel, that we could get through this, and keeping our employees was more important than anything else. Obviously, we still don't have a date, and we're kind of coming close, but I think if we can open very soon, it'll be fantastic. So yeah, the PPP definitely helped. We employed 3 people, and the whole business model as a whole is a fairly lean business model. So even if you have 250 coffee machines in a very, very significantly sized business, you're only employing 4 or 5 people at a time. So we're fortunate enough in that sense that if we do have a second or third wave or anything like that, that we are adaptable and we don't have to overextend, get the business up and running again as well.
Got it. Got it. Very nice. Yeah, I mean, in your type of business, these could be, high volume, high margin, low overhead, which is
Yep.
which is a good recipe
Yep.
for success. So let's talk. When the whole thing kind of took place, that mid March period, late March. Franchisees usually always look to the franchisor for guidance and support. That's the whole reason why they buy into the system. If you can share a little bit like what that was like during that time, how you were starting to bring everybody together to tell them it's going to be okay, we're going to pivot. How did that week period look like?
It was interesting. I think everyone was in the same boat in respect to like, what do we do now and how do we pivot in a manner that's going to stay to core to our business model, but also allow people to make money in that process, which is why they got into it in the first place. So what we did pretty quickly was our whole business model is very transparent. So we have a very open relationship with our franchisees in respect to supply chain, pricing. They know exactly what we purchase our products for from the vendor. We pass it on to our franchisees, plus an admin fee. So from the start, we have a very transparent business model. So we opened up the lines of communication very early, and we're honest with our franchisees about what next steps would look like, where we were moving in relationship to product innovation or having to slow down or whatever that looked like. Secondly, we wanted feedback. We told them to tell us, like today's call that we had with franchisees was essentially people giving us their feedback on what they're hearing in the local market. I think depending on what media or publisher you're looking at, you'll get a different comment on how each market is. So we really wanted local knowledge as what next steps to make. These new innovations like our Zero Touch initiative in the sense of our marketing campaign around what we're doing around servicing and disposable gloves, etc. We're really allowing franchisees to come back and say, hey, this is what I've heard and we think we should go in this direction. And then if it's a consensus, we really want to adapt to what the market's telling us as well. So I think it's not easy for, I think, any brand to innovate and pivot and move. But I think for us, we're fortunate that we have at this point in time a group of really good franchisees that all are implementing a very similar business model without too many differences in their local market. And we're trying to adapt to that as best as we can. So, and I think that's going to change dramatically in the next 3 months as well. I think as more and more offices open, we'll start to get more feedback and we'll start to realize what is working and what isn't. And I think in some sense, like most franchisees come into a franchise model to implement a market-proven system. They don't want to recreate the wheel. I think what's been fantastic about our network is that we've tried to innovate and they've been open to allowing us to do so in a way that we don't have to sit on a product for 6 months and develop a perfect system before releasing. And I think everyone just wants to make this office coffee amenity work. And if that means we have to release something a little prior to a perfect system, then so be it in relationship to just wanting to get back out there as well. So we're fortunate we have a great group of franchisees. We're very selective in who we choose. And a lot of brands say that, but don't really implement that. But we really are, because we really want to grow this significantly across the States. And I think we're only as good as our last brand market partner. So I think that's why we chose to do it that way.
Very nice, very nice. So let's spend the last few minutes we have together on franchise development. So what are you hearing right now? What are you seeing in terms of development, in new states over the next few months? Are you participating in any of the virtual trade shows that are coming up? So what's kind of the plans for that?
Yeah, so we had a number of deals prior to COVID happening that we would have signed. I think the Houston, Texas, Austin, Texas were 2 of them, and then we have one in Virginia, in Richmond, in Virginia. They were all looking to close in like March. And then obviously this came along and we actually got out in front of it and said, look, let's put a pause button on this, knowing that, look, let's just see where this next month or two, how it was going to pan out. So they're all still there. They're all still very interested. We're actually just waiting. We just released our new FDD a number of weeks ago, and we're just waiting for Texas to give us the tick of approval. And then from the comments we're hearing from the candidates, we're going to continue to move forward with them, and they're still very excited. We've been very flexible in relationship to fee structure, to opening and training dates. We're not going to push people into any corners about opening if it's not quite right in that market. We've actually, and this is not even official yet, we're about to actually make it official this week or next week. We're about to, because we sign multi-unit exclusive deals in markets. We're not looking for many different franchisees in a market. We're looking for that one brand market partner. It's typically a multi-unit deal, so either a 3 or 5 unit deal. What we're doing now as an incentive for obviously post-COVID situation is that we're still signing those multi-unit deals, where we're only making franchisees sign 1 unit or pay for 1 unit up front. So we still want that high caliber of franchisee, but we understand that, look, there is some uncertainty in the market, and we don't want the pressure to be on, hey, I paid X fees, I need to do Y. We just really want them to build it in a way that makes sense for them and their business, whether that is opening or closing at certain periods as well. So we have a number of leads out there as well. Most are just waiting for an answer to come about what their city's doing and how that's going to look for the foreseeable future. Everyone's talking about and is concerned about this second wave. Again, I don't think anyone knows. I think we're just going to have to see what happens. But we're very confident that when offices open back up and people are in the office, people are going to drink coffee. They're going to be in the office. Volume's going to be there. It's just how many offices are going to be open and how quickly can we build that out as well. So we're excited. We still think we should open 5 new markets this year. And if we can get to that stage, we'd be pretty happy as well.
And are you participating in any of the virtual trade shows that are coming up?
We did some early. We didn't get as much results as probably what we expected. I'm not sure if we're doing any more at this stage. We were actually going to be attending the multi-unit show in Vegas, and it was disappointing we couldn't do that. So we're hoping we can do that one as soon as possible as well, because I think we're probably in a great position there. But no, I think we've taken an approach of really looking for a specific franchise partner. And that means we've done through Oakscale, through our development partner, probably some different lead generation tactics than a lot of franchises. I think there's a lot of muddy waters in respect to what candidates are coming through what portals or lead gen tactics. So we've really tried to take an approach of franchisee focus first. Where can we find those people and kind of advertising in those ways as well?
Got it. Very nice. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of them pop up as well. So I'll probably attend as a guest online and just see how it works by visiting all the booths and all that. So look, Nigel, I mean, very, very good. Thank you so much. Before we wrap this up, any last information or advice you'd like to share to the people that will be listening in on this?
About our brand or about just in general?
Anything that you're seeing that you think would be helpful for an emerging brand or somebody just to pick up and say, I'm going to give this a shot.
Yeah, I think from our point of view, I think the trend that we're seeing in most markets is that people understand small businesses has been hurt in this coronavirus situation, and that they want to get back out there and they want to support them. So I would say that even if you're looking to buy into an emerging brand or a large franchise brand, I think ultimately it's you as a small business owner that has that business in that local territory. So I would just say don't have too much concern around whether business is going to be there or not, because it will. It has to. And I think everyone's excited to go out and support their local business in their local area. And I think whether it's an office coffee service or whether it's a quick service restaurant, I think people are going to get back out there pretty quickly. You just have to look at what people are doing in markets that are already opening. They're already going to restaurants. They're already spending money. And I mean, for me, I haven't been able to do anything for a number of weeks. So it's like I'm excited to get back out there and spend my money when I can. So I would just say if you're looking at a brand, look for one that I think everyone has to choose a business model that makes sense for them. But for us, and why we created what we did and why we moved all our business strategy in the direction we did, was we wanted a business model that was easily scalable, that was affordable, and that didn't have high overheads. And I think in this perfect situation as right now, in like a recession or an area where completely everything's shut down, we've been able to survive just because of those factors. And I think we will into the future as well. And I think that's why it's exciting for us.
Very nice. Nigel, thank you. Thank you so much for participating. Very good insights. Thank you for sharing your story on the business, how you pivoted, exciting stuff. And yeah, I agree with you. I think the future is going to be bright, and looking forward to getting back out there and hoping to see you in person soon as well.
Yeah.
So thank you again so much.
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it.
You got it.